Hey everybody, welcome back to Adventures in Old Fashions. As you can see, I am no longer in the mountains. I am actually sitting here in the airport waiting for my flight and heading out on my next adventure. So I wanted to give a kind of a final thoughts recap on my Colorado Trail through hike. And I've been off trail for a few weeks now. I've been back out of the mountains for a couple of weeks. After I got done hiking, I stayed a couple of weeks and went elk hunting. So I've got some videos that I will be posting on that. But I wanted to kind of just share some final thoughts now that I've had a chance to settle back in. Kind of reflect a little bit more, remove myself a little bit from the initial situation. So this will be a little bit longer video. I know some of you guys don't really like that, but I got a lot of stuff up here that I want to get out. So I want to kind of give a little bit of backstory into like my mindset and kind of what I'm thinking here. So 30 years ago, the summer before my senior year of high school, I attended Badger Boys State. So I'm pretty sure every state has one of these things. It's a student government kind of a experience. They basically take a couple guys from every upcoming senior class, and they ship you off to some college where they don't have classes and put you up in some dorms, and run you through like a mock government on a state level. So you get put in these dorms, and every floor is like a county, and you run for like representatives and sheriff and political positions. And then you have elections, and like the first couple of days is all about campaigning for these spots, and everybody votes, and then the elected officials get together and they kind of go through the motions of it's a mock government on a state level. So you got a governor and a lieutenant governor and all this stuff, and it's designed to teach young people, because they do this for girls too, basically the functions of civil government. So anyway, so I'm at this thing, and every floor they've got groups. So there's about 30 of us in my little group, and they got counselors. And my counselor, his name was Tom. I can't remember his last name, and I wish I could. But I think he was a lawyer. But they're like professionals, teachers, people that volunteer to be counselors at these events because they believe in teaching the upcoming generation, responsible civic duty, which is great. It is great. It's a good experience. But we got together, and this counselor, Tom, so he shared with us a passage, and it stuck with me. And it's been 30 years. It's been 30 years, and this stuck with me. He read us the first section of the conclusion to Thoreau's Walden. And being a 17-year-old guy, it's something within it really stuck and resonated, and it's been with me ever since. And I don't know, something about it appealed to my nature then, and I think it's helped guide and craft me as I've grown into the person I am. But yeah, if you're not familiar with it, I'll share it with you. I left the woods for as good a reason as I went there. Perhaps it seemed to me that I had several more lives to live and could spare no more time for that one. It's remarkable how easily and insensibly we fall into a particular route and make a beaten track for ourselves. I had not lived there a week before my feet wore a path from the door to the pond side, and though it is 5 or 6 years since I last trod it, it is still quite distinct. It is true I fear that others may have fallen into it and so helped to keep it open. The surface of the earth is soft and impressible by the feet of men, as with the paths which the mind travels. How worn and dusty then must be the highways of the world, how deep the ruts of tradition and conformity. I did not wish to take a cabin passage, but to go before the mast and on the deck of the world, for there I could best see the moonlight amid the mountains. I do not wish to go below now. A lot going on with that, and it was one of those things that while I was on the trail hiking, it ran through my mind many days, all day long. It's always been with me, but being out there in the wilderness and just I related to so many parts of that conclusion. I'll take a little side note and apologize here. So I just had a couple old fashions at the bar here in the airport. So if I'm a little bit spacey and not quite as put together as I usually am, they're kicking in. So, but anyway, I wanted to kind of share, that Thoreau was a very interesting guy, and if you're not familiar with him, he wrote the book on civil disobedience. He actually went to jail for refusing to pay his property taxes because he did not believe in the war that the U.S. was fighting. And now he lived in the early 1800s, so pre-Civil War. Even back then, you had people that weren't happy with the government, and they spoke out. And he was Thoreau was a transcendentalist, so he was good friends with Ralph Waldo Emerson. And the story goes is that Emerson actually went and visited him when he was serving time for refusing to pay his taxes. And Ralph's like, Henry, why are you here? And according to the story, Henry said, Ralph, why are you not? So interesting guy, and so Walden, he basically packed up and decided he didn't want to participate in society anymore. So he went out in the woods, found a pond, and built a log cabin and lived there for 5 years. So, like, again, early 1800s, you could do this. So he lived intentionally, away from society. He'd go into town and get supplies and things like that, but he tried to do as much as he could on his own. So I think that's part of, his story I really relate to. But just in his closing, like every sentence and sub paragraph of it really kind of speak to me. I left the woods for as good a reason as I went there. Perhaps it seemed to me that I had several more lives to live and could spare no more time for that one. And that resonates with me because I go out into the woods and I go out in the wilderness for shits and giggles because I feel like it, because I like it, for as good a reason as any. And I think that too many times, I found myself stuck in a rut, of tradition or conformity. I recently quit my job of 16 years because I felt I could spare no more time for that life. I had fallen into a rut. I was stuck in the conformity of it, and it really, I got to the point where I left it for as good a reason as I went there. I started the job because I wanted a job, and I decided that I could leave for just as good a reason. Why not? We can reinvent ourselves as much and as often as we want. So if you are not happy with what's going on, change it. Leave for as good a reason as you went there. You've got several more lives to live, and don't spare any more time for one that isn't working for you. So that's like I said, that really, that passage connected. And while I'm on the trail, 500 miles through the wilderness, the surface of the earth is soft and impressible by the feet of men. I've seen that. Oh, that's not me. So I have seen what humans' footprints do to the earth. It is soft and it is pressable. And I know that there are sections of that trail that if nobody ever hiked on them again, 100 years from now, you'd be able to make out that path. So when he talks about how, the surface of the earth is soft and impressible by the feet of men, and too with the paths with the minds travel, he's onto something there. He talked about how it was only a week before his feet wore a path from the door to the pond side, and it's 5 or 6 years since he trod it, and it's still quite distinct. It's true. We make an impact on our earth. It's as big that you can't imagine how big it is in your mind, but we as humans have made an impact, and those scars are, I don't want to say eternal, but it would take a drastic upheaval to erase the marks that we made on parts of our planet. And he also talks about how the paths with the minds travel, the ruts of tradition and conformity, how deep the highways of the world are, and the paths of tradition. How many things do we do every day simply because that's the way they've been done? And how much resistance and pushback is there when a new idea or a new way of doing something is presented? Think about that. How much of a pushback there is on cultural change because of how we've always done things. And even if it's a better idea, there's so much hesitation because it's not the way it's always been done. How worn and dusty then are the highways of the world, how deep the ruts of tradition and conformity. Oh, okay, that's my flight. So better double check and make sure that I'm good to go. So just some things that I really thought a lot about when I was on the trail, and now that I've been home for a while and kind of distanced myself from that environment, I've been able to reflect on a lot of stuff. So there's some things for you guys to think about too. And he closes with how he did not wish to take a cabin passage, but to go before the mast and on the deck of the world. Back in those days, you traveled by ship. You could pay for a room underneath, and it was secure, it was safe, it was dry, warm, 4 walls, a bed. Or you could go before the mast and on the deck. Cheaper passage, but you were out on the deck of the ship, exposed to the weather, the wind, the ocean, the rain. But you could see the moonlight amid the mountains. And personally, having gone before the mast and on the deck of the world, so I could see the moonlight amid the mountains, he did not wish to go below. And truthfully, I won't either. Now that I've seen the moonlight amid the mountains, now that I've been out there and experienced, the freedom of walking away from a life that I could not spare no more time for, I do not wish to go below now. And I'm hoping that this mindset I can carry through. So hopefully you guys are going to be in for a treat with a lot more adventures. Like I said, I'm getting ready to head on out on another one, so look forward to a bunch of new videos. I will also download the handful of videos I made from elk hunting while I was still out in Colorado. And I hope you guys are excited, because I am very excited. Now I better go run and check in at the gate and see what that was about. Take care.